Hey guys, it's Anthony here with Prodigal Road Ministries, and I'm coming to you with this week's Waypoint Wednesday with somewhat of a heavy heart, and I'm going to do my best to get through this week's episode. But in light of the tragic floods here in Kerrville, we are all grieving and working our way through this. And so I appreciate all of you for continuing to reach out with support, with love, the calls, the messages, the donations. Everything has been so greatly appreciated. And I'm going to do my best to get through this week's episode. This week is called When the Waters Rise. And I want to be very clear about the fact that this is a time of rebuilding. It's also a time of continued prayer and hope. Many are still missing their family members. And so our hearts go out to you and our prayers are with you. And we're going to just honor and cherish each person that is grieving in this season. So I want to just talk about the obvious and the fact that Kerrville has been marked with floodwaters this week. We watched the river that we know so well overflow its banks and surge through homes and disrupt camps. It's tested the strength of our community, and even now as the waters begin to recede, there's a different kind of flood rising. It's one of compassion, one of service, and one of unity. Prodigal Road Ministries was spared. Our facilities were untouched, but that doesn't mean that our hearts haven't been moved. It doesn't mean what we have experienced hasn't caused us to weep. It doesn't mean that we haven't prayed. It doesn't mean that we haven't watched the ones that we love walk through loss. I want to speak to you from a very vulnerable place this week because I wasn't here when this tragic incident occurred. I was away with my family and I was resting, and yet as the flood swept through our town, I felt the weight of my absence. I felt the whisper of the enemy trying to twist a good thing of resting in a time of vacation and solace, in a time of shalom and Shabbat with the Lord. I felt the enemy trying to twist a good thing into guilt and shame. But the Lord reminded me, He said, you don't have to be present in the storm to be present in the healing. You don't have to be near to be needed. And this is not the first time that I've felt that tension. Recently in 2019, my father, Britt Farmer, was the lead minister at West Freeway Church of Christ when a gunman opened fire on our church family. I wasn't in the room when the tragedy happened, but I was boots on the ground within 2 hours. I held hands, I cried with the broken, I watched people try to make sense of unspeakable things. And what I learned then is that trauma has no roadmap. But healing comes where people are willing to walk together. And that is what we're seeing here in Kerrville. Today, July 9th, is my dad's birthday, and as I reflect on his strength, the way that he led our congregation through one of the darkest moments of our lives, I'm reminded again that it's not about always knowing what to say. It's about being a voice of comfort. It's about being a consistent presence and a man and woman of peace in the middle of chaos. So I want to say this clearly. If you're watching from the sidelines, if you weren't directly affected by this flooding and by this storm, but you feel it in your chest, in your bones, and in your spirit, you are allowed to grieve as well. There is space in the kingdom for those who cry even when their house isn't underwater. There is room at the table for those whose hearts are breaking even if your hands aren't muddy. Psalms 31 says, you have known the distress of my soul, and He does. He sees your quiet sorrow. He knows your grief. He holds your unseen tears. At the same time, the unity of the Spirit is moving in this season. It is thick in the air. You can feel it as soon as you come into the Kerrville community. As I drove in last night from the airport after flying home yesterday, I could feel the sense of unity as I drove into Kerrville. It was dark and I wasn't able to see the wreckage. And I was grateful for the opportunity to wake up this morning and venture out into the Kerrville community and see so many people really coming to the aid of the community members. The words of John 17 echo loudly in my heart during this season. It says, Father, make them one as you and I are one, that the world may believe. And that is what we're seeing. That's what this moment is. It's a call to exactly that kind of unity. Not just among churches, but across nonprofits, across city leaders, families, strangers, even denominational walls. I've watched people from different streams wade into the same waters with open hearts and helping hands, and that is the gospel. That is the river from Ezekiel chapter 47, the one that makes everything live. I've sat with the Lord this week, and Ezekiel 47 continues to stir deeply in my spirit, especially verses 9 and 10, as my friends Susan Johnson and Terry Cheney were praying this week, and this verse is what came to them. I wanted to share it with you all. And wherever the river goes, every living creature that swarms will live, and everything will live where the river goes. Fishermen will stand beside the sea. It will be a place for the spreading of nets. Its fish will be of very many kinds, like the fish of the great sea. I believe that this was a prophetic picture given to Ezekiel of a river flowing from the temple, from God's dwelling place, and bringing life wherever it touched. It transformed stagnant, salty, lifeless waters into vibrant, teeming ecosystems. Dead places became living places. Dry places became fruitful. And those who once wandered now stood in restoration, casting their nets again. For Kerrville, this is more than a metaphor. This is a promise. Though the Guadalupe River has risen with power and disruption, I believe that the Spirit of God is reminding us of a greater river, the one that flows from His presence, the one that flows from the throne of heaven, the one that flows out of the secret place. And so for those of you that are not being affected directly by this storm, but you are grieving in spirit on the sidelines, the river of Ezekiel 47 can flow directly from your heart into this community to bring healing. The natural flood may have brought destruction, but the river of God brings healing, restoration, and renewal. It brings the return of life, of families standing side by side again, of people finding purpose again, of communities casting new nets, not for survival, but for harvest. Where the river of God flows, new beginnings rise. So even if your home is waterlogged, your memories feel muddied, or your plans have been swept away, I'm here to declare over you today, the river of the Lord is flowing through this region. And He is bringing life back to the devastated places. He is bringing order where there has been chaos. You will fish again. You will build again. You will rejoice again. This isn't the end. This is the start of a fresh current of His goodness. As Justin Carpenter said so greatly as we were grieving the loss of little Kinley Seifert, precious Kinley Seifert, before the flood happened on July 4th, Justin said that now we grieve and later we fight. And for all of you that are grieving, we are here to grieve with you, but we are also here to fight with you when the grieving is over. I want to thank Justin Carpenter for Cross Kingdom Church for his steady leadership. Justin, thank you for being a rock for our congregation and a voice of peace in our community. I want to honor every pastor, every nonprofit, every individual who has shown up, not with platitudes, but with presence. And every pastor, you know who you are. There's too many to name, but Justin is the pastor at the church that I attend, and I wanted to very publicly say how grateful I am for him. But every one of you pastors that are friends of mine, I want you to know I'm grateful for each of you. You know who you are, and the Lord knows who you are. I want to give a special thank you to a ministry out of Midland, Texas called Christmas in Action, and Nathan Knowles, who helped make it possible, for this ministry has delivered a trailer that is full of renovation supplies, tools, chainsaws, generators, drills, wireless gear, everything that you need to begin the work of rebuilding. These trailers are going to be housed at Genesis House with Prodigal Road Ministries at 1871 Junction Hwy and will be made available to those who are helping in local recovery projects. This is kingdom in action. This is unity in action. If you need information for how to reserve one of those trailers, you can reach out to us at Prodigal Road Ministries. You can go to our website, and you can also send an email to info@prodigalroad.org, and we can get you that information. There's going to be a flyer released in the next couple of days about how to reserve that trailer, and these trailers will be available for many weeks to come as we begin and continue the rebuilding process. And so if you have a project that you need supplies for, please reach out to us and we can help you get in touch with Nathan Knowles with Christmas in Action to be able to reserve that trailer. But I also want to lead, I feel led to share a gentle word of correction offered with deep love and deep humility to my brothers and sisters that are in ministry, especially those with a platform, and even to those who are listening who may hear this message that don't have a ministry platform, but you might have a following on social media. Please remember this. Not every moment is meant to be amplified for clicks or for reach. Some moments are sacred. Some pain is too fresh to be dissected online. And as somebody who walked through the West Freeway Church of Christ tragedy back in 2019, I know from personal experience how tragic and how painful it can be to begin to get friend requests and begin to get follows because of a tragic incident. Before you post, I just ask for you to pause. Before you record, I ask for you to reflect. Before you speak, I ask for you to pray. This is a very, very tender moment in the lives of many here in the Kerrville community. And I do encourage those of you that are not directly affected by this tragedy to continue to pray, to continue to support those that you love in this community. But please pray, and please make sure that God is asking you to share before you share. Matthew 23 reminds us that spiritual authority is not about titles or influence, but it's about love, mercy, and humility. I want to steward this moment well. I want all of us in the body of Christ to steward this moment well. Proverbs 17 tells us that a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. This is our time to be brothers, to be sisters, to be family, not only in word, but also in action, in generosity, in listening ears, and willing hearts. To every person in Kerrville, at Camp Mystic, and beyond who is hurting, grieving, or just trying to put the pieces back together, we see you, we love you, and we're here. The Lord is in the flood, not as the cause, but as the comforter. He rides on the waters, as Psalms 29 declares, and where he rides, peace follows. So let's keep walking. Let's rebuild together. Let's be the kind of people who don't just quote unity, but actually carry it. Let's be a body that isn't fractured by distance or doctrine, but held together by love. Remember, here at Prodigal Road Ministries, we believe that every prodigal is not just a project. Sorry, y'all. This is really tender to my heart, but those that are lost, that are going to be ministered to, they're not projects, y'all. They're long-awaited miracles. And in this time of loss, we pray that every prodigal and every child that is missing and every son and daughter will return home in the coming days. Until next week, walk the waypoint, Keep your eyes on the river of life and your feet anchored in grace. We'll see you soon.